Amy, and I'm here today to give you the wrap-up of the next 4 books that I've read, books 51 through 54. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and this book was fantastic. I read this during the Dewey's 24-hour readathon, and I could not put it down. I stayed up way later than I should have reading it. It was so fantastic. So this book is a science fiction novel following this guy, Jason, who he is just living a normal life. He has a wife and he has a kid, and he's walking home from the market one day and he is kidnapped, and he wakes up in this laboratory, and his life that he thought was his life is no longer his life. His wife is not his wife, his kid is not his kid, and he has to wonder, was the life that he was living, was that a dream and this was reality, or is this a dream and the life he remembers is that reality? And it takes Jason on this crazy journey. It was so fantastic. I kind of saw where things were coming a little bit, just because I kind of had an idea going in that this was possible, but just the twist that it goes on just is amazing. And when you think you've figured it out, something else just comes in and just tackles everything that you thought was going to be and just crumbles it, and you're just like, what? And it brought out every emotion. I laughed, I cried, I was angry, I was on the edge of my seat, and it's such a fantastic book. I haven't read a whole lot of books this year that I gave 5 stars to, and this is one of those books. So if you're looking for a good science fiction suspense novel, definitely pick up Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Moving on to the next book, and that is Jacobi by William Ritter, and this is a crime novel, suspense novel about this girl Abigail who comes to America and is looking for adventure and looking for, just something different, and she runs into Jacobi, who is a supernatural detective, and she becomes his assistant on this case and follows him around and tries to solve this particular murder and what's going on. And it's okay, so the book itself is said to be Doctor Who meets Sherlock. It has nothing to do with Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a Time Lord who time travels, and while Jacobi does not time travel at all, there's no time travel in this book. I think the only reason why people are comparing it to Doctor Who is because of the supernatural, different types of, creatures and beings and all of that. But it has nothing to do with Doctor Who. I would say yes, kind of like Sherlock, but I found it to be more like the TV show Angel meets Psych. Because you have Angel, who is solving, these supernatural things that are happening, and you have Psyche, who's solving crimes. And I really think that Jacobi really reminds me of Sean in the aspect of, he seems like he's making things up, but Jacobi's not making things up. Sean is making things up. But Jacobi is not really respected in the detective world, and he's kind of, seen as a black sheep. And so I don't know, I enjoyed it enough to finish it, but I do have to say that Jacobi annoyed me. I did not like the character Jacobi, and at the end there's some victim shaming that I'm just not okay with. If someone is a victim, you should never blame them for them being hurt or whatever, and there's a lot of victim shaming in this, and it's just not okay. So I don't know if I'm going to continue on in this series, and I don't know. It was okay. The writing was okay. The storyline was just okay. It didn't really wow me or thrill me, and it was not what I was expecting, but I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because it was just okay, it was decent enough for me to finish. The next book that I'm going to talk about is The Undomesticated Goddess by Sophia Kinsella. So this book follows Samantha, who is this workaholic attorney, and she makes this giant mistake in her law firm, and she, instead of owning up to her mistake, she just runs and flees and somehow ends up interviewing for this maid position and getting the position, but she has not even the first clue how to cook, how to sew, how to clean, anything. And so she's faking her way through becoming this, maid. And I enjoyed the first 2/3 of the book. I thought it was really funny and just, these just silly things that Samantha is getting into, and of course there's like, you know, a love interest, and it's just really interesting, and I feel like Samantha was making good progress as a character, and then I don't know, I just felt like at the end it really did put a poor light on the fact that you shouldn't want to be a maid. That's kind of beneath every woman, and to want to be a maid or cook is going against feminism, and I just think that is just ridiculous. And I also thought that it really put a bad light on being successful as well, and that if you want to be a successful lawyer, you have to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I do think that yes, in some big law firms that there is that pressure, but I don't think that every single lawyer works 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I know it is a hard profession, but I just don't see it as you can't have a life outside of your job. That yes, is one of those jobs that you won't have as much of a life, but I think if you're in a smaller law firm, is there that pressure there? And so there was just some negative aspects to it that I just was not okay with. And so for the most part, I enjoyed it. I thought it ended just very cliche and just kind of ridiculous. So I enjoyed like the first 2/3 of the book. The last third of the book I really didn't like. I think that things could have been tweaked and it could have been a great story, but it's not the worst Sofia Kinsella book that I've read, but it's not the best. So if you really like Sofia Kinsella, then definitely pick it up. If you've never read anything by her, don't pick this one up as your first Sofia Kinsella. So I gave this book, I think, a 3.5 out of 5 stars, if not a 3 out of 5 stars. I can't remember, but it was okay, and I had a fun time reading it. Okay, and then the last book that I'm going to talk about is the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I absolutely loved, I'm going to put this down because it's really heavy. I absolutely loved this story. I have read the Harry Potter series so many times, and I've read the Sorcerer's Stone, I don't even remember how many times I've read it, and I absolutely loved reading this story. One, I loved that it was in the UK edition, the actual edition instead of the Americanized edition, and so there are some like words and things that they're not in the American edition because that's not how Americans speak, and so it was almost like there were sometimes I felt like I was reading a new story because I had to kind of figure out what they were talking about, and it was just really fun. And then just seeing the Hogwarts and the Harry Potter world through a beautifully illustrated edition, like, it was so fun. And I really do feel like the illustrations really just brought out the magic of Harry Potter, and it's so fun. It was so fun to read the story again and to see it through the eyes of an author. It was so, so, so fun. So definitely recommend picking up the illustrated editions. Okay, so that wraps up the last 4 books, and guys, I hope you're having a great reading month. Let me know if you read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them, and until next time, I'll see you on the flip side. Bye!